I think everyone is really taking it seriously and is inside, so
Yeah, that's good.
but it's really crazy. But
it's nuts.
how's that sort of been, I guess, the idea here is like, how's that been affecting your work, your photography? Has it been, and if so, like how?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I've obviously, all my work and jobs that I had lined up has been like postponed until July-ish now. I mean, it started off till June and it just keeps getting pushed back. But it's also not having work to do and shoots and just being at home has also been quite interesting. I mean, I've been trying to make my second boys zine from my personal project boys for maybe since last summer, and it's all just being pushed to one side because, you know, you're out working or you're socializing or you're going away, you never find the time. Whereas now I have like all the time in the world to get this done, and it's like progressing at a crazy rate, you know, we're really getting through it. And then photography wise, I was actually approached to start like creative directing a couple of projects for some musicians who, you know, I would have shot if I could go outside, but because I can't, it's now how can I direct them with their projects and to kind of talk to them through Zoom and FaceTime and like direct their own shoot, which is kind of strange, and it's something I've never done before.
Yeah, how do you feel about that? I feel like I've seen a lot of sort of like FaceTime shoots.
Yeah.
I
mean, it's cool. I personally, like, I don't really want to do that.
Yeah.
And I haven't felt the need to really do like a quarantine at home project. I've kind of like put the camera to a side and trying to use this time to like research and other stuff. But this project, like the creative direction, is kind of interesting.
Is it helping you sort of like look at, I guess, the way you work from a distance? Like, is it kind of interesting to see how
you kind of
how you would direct?
Yeah, you have to kind of go inside yourself again, which we're so used to, like, you know, projecting stuff and being in person and just getting on with it. You actually have to stop and like think about your process and why you do it and what you're trying to communicate, and especially not being able to actually do it and you're like passing that on to someone else. It's so strange, but it's cool. I'm into it.
I mean, Malcolm and I were talking about it. I think a lot of your photography is very intimate. You get really close physically to the person and therefore emotionally. So I guess how has that whole sort of like social distancing, is it affecting like the way you approach that sort of?
I mean, I guess it will.
Yeah.
When we start to like go back outside and everything starts to happen again. I mean, I still really want to obviously continue that style because I love it, like getting right up in someone's face, and gonna be different for a minute at least, you know. I'm not going to be so up close, and I'm going to be using this and shooting a little bit wider, I guess, when I can get back outside, which is exciting.
Definitely.
I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, I see the little manual cameras in the back.
Oh, look, I've got a whole row.
That's awesome.
I've got about 3 shots left on each one.
Oh my gosh.
I need to bust those out. I think there's kind of like a fine line between, I don't know, like people taking pictures nowadays, especially younger people who are kind of shooting on film. I think there is like a big drive for them to shoot for social media, which I've kind of never really wanted to do. But I actually did do it recently. It was the day before I kind of put myself into self-quarantine, which was about a month ago. And it was, when all this was kind of really kicking off in England. And I was like, I really want to like document a moment of this, maybe for the boys project or just whatever. But I just wanted to have a memory of this because it's, you know, such a severe thing and it's life-changing for everyone. So I was supposed to shoot this guy, Felix, who's part of the boys project. And we kept putting it off. And this was kind of the last window before I was like, okay, everything's going to get really real, like we're not going to be able to do this anyway. So I shot him in a mask, but it was kind of, you know, I wanted to just document that, but by the time I had it processed and sent back to me, everything was, you know, people weren't listening to the rules, the government had no idea what was going on and weren't guiding people. And so then I kind of used that picture to put up and try and get people's attentions and be like,
I saw that,
stay in your house, like stay, it's so simple, just stay inside, you know.
Definitely.
But that's kind of the first time that I've shot something to like put on social media and be like, yo, like, come on. Usually I shoot it with like, you know, like a zine in mind or like a bigger project idea. But I mean, I've been going on social media quite a lot. but mostly Instagram. But it's interesting how everyone's super active.
Yeah.
Like doing loads of lives. I don't really like doing stuff like lives. It kind of, I feel a bit pressured, but I mean, it's interesting. It's cool. And people are coming together and like, you know, trying to provide some sense of like entertainment or inspiration for people, which I think is cool.
Definitely.
There's definitely more, you know, it's more of a community rather than people trying to outdo each other, I'd say. There's less competition right now, you know, it's just like inspiration, which is nice.
Definitely. I mean, has there been anything that's sort of inspiring you maybe, or like photographers, or not even photographers, just anything in your daily life that's kind of inspiring?
Yeah, I mean, being able to like watch stuff, like some documentaries. Like yesterday I watched the LA Originals. So good. Like I'm about to watch it again tonight and take notes because
oh my gosh,
there's so much in it, but it's cool. And stuff like a guy called Zed Nelson, a photographer, he made a documentary film called The Street, and I've never got around to watching it, but I watched it like last week. Really good. And I read a book called Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, and it's kind of the study of success. So interesting, you know, different ways to what I'd usually find inspiring, which is being out on the street and like around people, which I'm now not, so I'm having to find other sources, but there's so many of them.
And I hear you saying that you make zines a lot. What is it about that format that you really like? Or
I mean, for me, it's making a zine's really cool because it's like, why am I making this, number one? And it's, for me, it's like, I want people to really experience what I've shot. And I don't want it just to be picture after picture after picture, because that's what Instagram's for. So like, why am I making this if it's already on Instagram? So I've been currently working with the graphic designer, and we're kind of trying to tell the story, but adding loads of different tech place feel. How does it look? I think it's cool because when you sit with something that really inspires you, like you treasure it and it feels nice. You flick through it, and I don't know, it's just, I don't want to just create. I feel like all we do is kind of create to put online. That's just a bit like, oh, you know, it just gets lost in everything. You know, there's so much every day. And this content thing. So I think it's really nice to create something physical that someone sits with, holds it and engages with without being on a screen. I think that's dope.
Has that philosophy sort of gone into like how you take your photographs in general? I mean, because I, like we said before, there's a like physical closeness there, and you can see the details of the skin, you can see, you know, just into their eyes. Like, is there a value for you for sort of like the senses, like touch?
Definitely, and even, you know, once I've shot something, I'll like put it into a folder, like a specific image from the shoot, and I'm like, I want this to be in like an exhibition, or I want this to be on the ceiling, or I want this to be huge. It's definitely about more of a like physical in-person experience. I mean, Instagram, etc., are great because obviously it's so easy and it goes out to everyone, but I think for me it has to be more than that. And as I was growing up, you know, it was like books and going to events and book launches and exhibitions, and that was like the excitement of it, you know. So that's kind of what I want to make sure I continue doing, and each time to kind of level it up. I've only made 2 zines before. They were quite simple, but you know, this one's, we've taken a lot of time. We've been trying to work on it since last June.
Oh wow.
So it's changed a lot. Now we're back into it. It's changed so much, but it's very much about the textures and the physicality of it, and the overall experience you get from reading it.
I agree with that. I mean, like, it's so hard to, it's nice hearing that you like look at your photographs and you can imagine them being on a wall, and you can imagine them being on a poster. Like, there's a more grander sense of like where it's going to be placed. And so like when you're just limited to such a small format and that's it, like that definitely changes your
and I think it's cool when I go to an exhibition, whether it's an artist or a photographer, I like lose my shit. I get so into it, and I leave with like the book and the poster and the postcards. I'm like, I'm in this. So for me, that's kind of what I want the zine to do, you know, and the book launch or the exhibition. Like, I want the person who comes to like be in it and feel it. So that's the goal.
That's awesome. Respect. And do you work mostly with film then?
Yeah, pretty much.
And why?
Everything if I can. I mean, I first started shooting on film, so it's kind of always how I've seen pictures, you know, especially that I've taken myself. And I got into digital as a teenager, and which kind of got me back into taking pictures, because before I was just a little kid shooting with my parents' camera.
Yeah.
And I don't know, digital just never did it for me.
Mm-hmm.
I never enjoyed it. Like, just on a really basic level, like I didn't like it.
Yeah.
And then when I went to sixth form college, which is between 16 to 18, I took photography and got back in the darkroom.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I love this. Like, I was really quite shy, and being able to be in the darkroom with my earphones in and just like getting on with it was my shit. I hated being in the classroom. I felt under pressure. Teachers like, talk now. That was not for me. So like, it just, for me as a person, it was really good. And it's like, I like shooting film. I love how it looks. I love that it's not like this crazy process of just shooting loads and like hoping for the best one. I like that every one is like considered. I really enjoy that, you know. You have to think about what you're shooting. And it just looks beautiful, and the way it captures, like the light works with it, is just crazy. I just don't really like shooting on digital. I really don't. It's just like, it's not a vibe. But it's cool. I think it's like a talent as well. Like, if you can shoot great pictures on digital, like, it's as good as shooting great pictures on film. I'm not like a film versus digital person. I'm like, do whatever you like, you know. I think there's like, you know, talent in both. But yeah, film's definitely my vibe.
Yeah, I sense that. That's awesome. Let me know if you're running out of time or anything like that.
I'm good.
Okay. So then I guess, like, for people who are in the creative industry right now, do you feel like there's any advice you have, or just stuff that you're just kind of like, you guys should do this, you guys shouldn't do this, don't worry about this, or any sort of like 2 cents you have about
what, just in general? I mean, I don't know, I feel like everyone says it, but really, like, you just have to keep going. You just have to keep shooting, and that's all I did. Like, you just keep going, you just keep shooting, like, as much as you possibly can, you know. If you could go out and shoot every day, do it. And if you're super early on in this and you just like photography and you're trying to figure it out, then kind of shoot everything. Don't just like be like, oh, I'm just going to shoot portraits. Like, I did the most when I was younger, like slow-mo, my head leaving a sink with water droplets falling off. Got, like, all kinds of stuff, you know, like landscapes. Didn't really like that. You have to kind of figure out what you like, and then I think you start to understand yourself more. And like, shooting portraits, I know why, because I've tried everything else, and that's my thing, you know. It got me out of my shell. It forced me to like meet new people all the time. So, you know, as the work's grown, also like myself has grown, you know, my personality, my confidence, it's all kind of tied together. So there's a reason why you're doing stuff, you know. So I think it's important to find your reason for why you're doing it. And yeah, don't just do it for Instagram.
Preach.
That would be my piece of advice.
Yeah.